You know that feeling when you want something so bad that you stop caring who gets hurt to get it? That's exactly what happened to a 13-year-old boy named Dylan. And what he did to his own little sister is something his family still can't talk about without getting quiet. This isn't a jump scare story. There's no monster, no ghost, nothing supernatural at all. This is just about greed and how far a person can go when a video game convinces them that virtual currency matters more than the people sitting right next to them. Stick around, because I'm going to break down exactly what happened, step by step. And at the end, I want to give you my honest take on why this kind of thing is becoming way more common than people think. Let's get into it. Dylan was 13. He lived with his mom, his dad, and his little sister Emma, who was 9. On paper, pretty normal family. Dylan liked Roblox the way a lot of kids do, not casually, but like it was the main event of his day. School was just something that happened in between play sessions. He played Adopt Me, he played Blox Fruits, but if you asked him what he actually cared about, it was Robux. Not the games themselves, the currency. If you're new here, welcome. I make videos about real situations that happen around gaming, especially Roblox, because honestly, a lot of what happens in these communities never gets talked about seriously. So if that's the kind of content you're into, go ahead and subscribe now before we keep going, because this story gets pretty uncomfortable pretty fast. Dylan's parents weren't rich, but they weren't struggling either. He got an allowance. Not huge, but enough for a kid his age. The problem was, Dylan compared his Robux balance to his friends' balances the way some adults compare paychecks. He had a friend named Kevin who always had the newest limited items, the rare avatar accessories, all of it. And every time Kevin logged on with something new, Dylan felt smaller. That's the part I want you to sit with for a second, because this is the actual root of the story. It wasn't really about the game. It was about status. Kids feel social pressure online just as hard as adults do, sometimes harder because their brains haven't developed the tools yet to separate "I don't have this item" from "I am less than my friends." So Dylan started saving his allowance. Slowly. Painfully slowly from his perspective. A few dollars a week doesn't buy much Robux, and patience was never really his thing. Then one afternoon, Emma left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went outside to ride her bike. It wasn't anything special, just a hand-me-down phone their parents gave her for emergencies and to video call grandma. But Dylan looked at that phone sitting there, and something clicked in his head. He knew a kid at school who bought and sold used electronics, no questions asked, cash only. And Dylan did the math. That phone, sold quick and quiet, could get him enough Robux to finally catch up to Kevin. I want to pause here for a second because this is the moment that decides everything that comes after. Right here, Dylan had a choice. He could put the phone down and go back to being a normal kid who wanted stuff he couldn't afford yet, which, by the way, is literally every kid on Earth. Or he could take something that wasn't his. And greed, when it's paired with impatience, has a way of making terrible ideas sound reasonable in the moment. He took the phone, told Emma he had no idea where it went when she came back inside panicking, told his parents the same thing. He watched his 9-year-old sister cry in the living room, going through the couch cushions, checking her backpack over and over, and he said nothing. 2 days later, he sold it to that kid from school for cash. Not even a fair price. He just wanted it gone fast so nobody would ask questions. He took that money straight to buying a Robux card. Now here's where I think a lot of people watching this are expecting some dramatic twist, some huge blow-up scene. But real life usually isn't that clean. What actually happened is slower and honestly sadder. Emma kept asking about her phone for weeks. She thought maybe she lost it outside, so she'd go check the yard after school by herself. Their mom filed an insurance claim for a broken phone because that's what Dylan told her happened, that Emma must have left it somewhere and it got taken. Emma got blamed for losing something she never actually lost. That's the part that gets me every time I go back over this story. It's not just that Dylan took something, it's that he let his little sister carry the guilt for it. She started being more careful with her things after that, almost anxious about it, because she genuinely believed she was the careless one. Meanwhile, Dylan was logging into Roblox every night with his new Robux, buying limited items, feeling like he'd finally caught up to Kevin. If you're watching this and you're a bit older, maybe you're thinking, okay, it's just a phone, it's just Robux, why does this matter so much? But I'd push back on that a little. This isn't really a story about a phone. It's about what happens when a kid learns that lying works, that it's easier than facing consequences, and that people close to you can absorb the blame you don't want to carry. That's a pattern. And patterns like that don't usually stay small. All right, real quick. If this story is hitting different for you, hit that subscribe button now because we're about to get into how this actually came out, and it's honestly worse for Dylan than anything I've mentioned so far. So, how did it unravel? Kevin, the friend Dylan was trying to keep up with this whole time, ended up seeing the Robux purchase notification pop up when he was at Dylan's house one afternoon, because Dylan had his email open on the shared family computer. Kevin, being 13 and not exactly subtle, asked Dylan straight up where he got the money for that much Robux. And Dylan, feeling proud of himself in this really uncomfortable way, actually told him. Said he sold his sister's old phone and just told everyone it got lost. Kevin didn't say anything at the time, but apparently it sat weird with him, because a few days later, he mentioned it to his own mom, almost in passing, not even realizing it was a big deal. And Kevin's mom, who knew Dylan's mom from school pickup, mentioned it to her, just casually. Like, hey, did Emma ever find her phone? You can imagine how that conversation went. Dylan's mom put it together immediately. She confronted Dylan that night, and he actually admitted it pretty quickly once he realized there was no getting out of it. No dramatic denial, no big lie, just quiet confirmation of what she already suspected. What happened after that wasn't Dylan getting hit or anything like that, and I want to be clear about that, because a lot of these stories go in that direction, and this one didn't. What happened was something I think is honestly more painful in its own way. His parents made him tell Emma the truth himself, face to face. Not through them, him. I can only imagine how that conversation went. A 13-year-old having to look his 9-year-old sister in the eye and tell her that the reason she got blamed for losing something, the reason she felt like it was her fault, was because he sold it behind her back for a video game currency. Emma reportedly didn't even yell. She just cried and asked him why he didn't just ask her first, because she probably would have let him borrow it or something. That question probably hurt more than any punishment could have. Dylan had his own devices taken away for months. Not forever, his parents weren't trying to be cruel about it, but long enough that he had to actually sit with what he did without the escape of logging back into Roblox every night. He had to do extra chores to help pay toward a replacement phone for Emma. And honestly, from what's been shared about this, the hardest part for him wasn't the punishment. It was that Emma stopped trusting him with her stuff. Small things. She'd double-check her backpack when he was around. She stopped asking him to watch her phone charge in his room like she used to. That kind of quiet distance is honestly a harder consequence than any grounding. Now here's my honest take on this, because I don't just want to tell you a sad story and move on. I think what happened with Dylan is a really clear example of something psychologists call moral disengagement. That's basically when someone convinces themselves that what they're doing isn't really that bad, usually by focusing on the goal instead of the actual harm. Dylan wasn't thinking, I am stealing from my sister and letting her take the blame. He was thinking, I need Robux to keep up with Kevin. The harm to Emma basically got erased from the picture in his head because the goal felt more important in the moment. This happens with adults too, by the way, not just kids. It's the same mental trick people use to justify all kinds of things, from small lies to much bigger ones. The scale is different, but the mechanism is the same. You focus so hard on what you want that the person getting hurt kind of disappears from the equation. If you're a parent watching this, or if you're a kid who relates a little too much to Dylan's side of the story, here's the thing I'd actually want you to take away. Wanting things is normal. Comparing yourself to friends, even over something like Robux, is a completely normal part of growing up, especially now that so much social status for kids happens online instead of just in person. The problem was never that Dylan wanted more Robux. The problem was the shortcut he took, and the fact that he let someone else carry the consequences of his choice. And if you're a kid dealing with that same pressure right now, feeling like you're falling behind because someone else has better stuff in a game, I'd just say this. That feeling is real, but it passes fast, and it's genuinely not worth burning trust with people who actually care about you. Trust takes years to build and about 5 minutes to destroy, and Dylan found that out the hard way. Emma and Dylan are apparently doing better now. It took a while, but he actually saved up his own money, not stolen, actual chores and birthday money, and bought her a better phone than the one he sold. Didn't fix everything overnight, but it was a start. That's the story. If you made it this far, thank you for actually sticking around for the whole thing. That means a lot more than you'd think. Let me know down in the comments, honestly, who do you think handled this worse? Dylan for what he did, or the situation itself for putting that much pressure on a 13-year-old to keep up with his friends? I read every comment on these videos, so actually tell me what you think. If you want more stories like this, ones that are less about jump scares and more about real situations that actually make you think, go ahead and subscribe, because there's a lot more of these coming. I'll see you in the next one.